So with all the upgrades Intel and AMD have made with their latest processors, I really think now is a great time to buy a gaming laptop. And if you have a budget of around $1,500 or some 1,50,000 if you live in India, I think this guy, the Asus TUF Gaming F15 2022 edition, is an excellent option, and not just for gamers but for content creators out there too. So let's talk more about it after this short message from our sponsor, Royal CD Keys. When it comes to software, using licensed ones is always the way to go because pirated softwares are often infected with dangerous viruses and malware. And Royal CD Keys is your one-stop shop for all your digital goods like softwares, games, gift cards, and so much more. Want to upgrade to Windows 11 for less than $3? Done. And the entire purchase experience is super simple and secure too. Plus, you can even get an additional 10% off if you use our code GADGET at checkout. So if you're looking to buy any software or game, make sure to check out Royal CD Keys. For more information, you can refer to the link given in the description below or scan the QR code on the screen as well. Okay, before I get started with this review, let's also get familiar with the 2022 editions of the Asus TUF series real quick since they all sound so similar. Here, the TUF F15 and A15 are pretty much the same, except that the F15 is powered by Intel's 12th Gen CPU, while the A15 has AMD's Ryzen 6000 series CPU. On the contrary, the TUF-F15 has a somewhat cleaner design and a marginally slimmer build quality, all at the sacrifice of performance to some extent. My unit of the TUF F15 is powered by the Intel Core i7-12700H CPU, 140W RTX 3060 GPU, 16 GB of DDR5 memory, and a terabyte of PCIe Gen 3 SSD. This configuration costs around 1,47,000 rupees in India or some $1,500 in the US. And for that price, this is one of the most powerful laptops that you can get right now. The sheer performance jump that the 12th Gen processors bring is just staggering. It absolutely annihilates last year's 11th Gen CPU, be it in terms of single-core or multi-core workloads. Just look at Cinebenchmark 23. Its single and multi-core scores are the highest in our entire database. Similarly, this 12th Gen CPU posts a double-digit performance jump in other tests like 7-Zip, VDay 5, and Corona, on top of productivity benchmarks like Puget Bench and SPEC Workstation. Talking about productivity, I also tried editing a 1080p video project on Premiere Pro here, and it handled everything from adding animation and text layers with a breeze. As for gaming, Asus has also added a MUX switch this time. In case you don't know, a multiplexer or MUX switch basically lets you disable a CPU's integrated graphics so that it does not get to bottleneck the faster discrete GPU's performance. With this, Asus says that you can expect roughly 5 to 10% better performance on average. Now, that might sound worth it to some, but in this case, I am not that convinced, mainly because of one reason. The thing is, the TUF F15's display is not G-Sync compatible, although it does support VESA's adaptive sync technology. But since adaptive sync does not work when enabling MUX switch, I noticed screen tearing on multiple instances when gaming on this laptop. Other than this, enabling MUX switch also takes quite a toll on the battery life. But I guess gamers won't be particularly bothered by that. Anyways, let's talk scores now. Compared to a similarly configured 11th Gen laptop with 130W RTX 3060, the TUF F15's results are remarkable, especially on CPU-reliant games like CSGO, where its average and 1% low FPS are more than 50% higher than last-gen systems. Similarly, both GTA 5 and Borderlands 3 deliver over 100 FPS at high settings. On to some relatively GPU-intensive games, I got 66 FPS on Hitman 3 at Ultra preset, where moving down to medium settings did not improve the FPS throughput by a lot. Control, on the other hand, managed 48 FPS at average at Ultra settings and high ray tracing, which jumps to 67.9 FPS when switching to medium preset. Cyberpunk 2077 is almost unplayable at Ultra settings with just 27.5 average FPS. But at medium settings, it delivers a respectable 46.8 FPS, and with ray tracing turned off completely, the TUF F15 manages an impressive 107.5 FPS average. All in all, this laptop can handle most modern AAA titles at medium to high settings with ease. But what's impressive here is its thermal performance, as Asus has significantly upgraded the cooling system in here this time. Unlike its predecessor, this guy has an additional exhaust vent on the left and an extra heat pipe underneath. On the front, I noticed that the heat is mostly localized slightly left to the enter key area, with the surface temperature reaching 43 degrees Celsius when playing some light games like CSGO, or 48 degrees Celsius just above it. But that number would jump to around 47 degrees Celsius and 54 degrees Celsius under Cyberpunk 2077, which is still quite admirable. As for fan noise, it does get quite noisy, as I recorded 48 dBA at peak, but if you are a gamer, you will be wearing a headphone while gaming, so that should not be an issue. Design-wise, Asus has made some visual changes compared to last year's model. It still is a bulky and fat lad, but what's commendable here is that in spite of all the internal upgrades, they have managed to minimize the chassis volume by a bit and is 100 grams lighter than its predecessor too. And since this is a TUF F series laptop, it does not disappoint in the durability department as well. Besides the military-grade toughness, its hinge, its lid, and keyboard deck are all solid. The soft matte finish on the keyboard deck that does not attract fingerprints as much is a nice touch too. Above it, you can also see a funky X-shaped set of LED indicators which are visible even with the lids closed. The connectivity side of things is also pretty decent here. There's a Kensington lock and a single USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port on the right. On the left side, you get an additional USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port alongside a 3.5mm headphone jack, a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port, a Thunderbolt 4, an HDMI 2.0B, an RJ45, and a power connector. Likewise, this year's TUF F15 also brings some neat upgrades in the display department. There are a total of 3 options that you can choose from, where content creators can go for the WQHD variant with 100% DCI-P3 gamut and a 165Hz refresh rate, while its entry-level model has a 144Hz refresh rate and an underwhelming 62.5% sRGB coverage. But if you play a lot of fast-paced games, I would advise you to go with the 300Hz variant like the one I have with me, and this one also has a decent 98% sRGB and 74% P3 color coverage. Here, the color reproduction looks pleasing, the brightness is fairly decent, and the contrast level is not half bad either, considering its IPS nature. There's also a layer of matte coating here to prevent indoor light reflections from getting in your way. Similarly, the viewing angles is also quite nice. There is some drop in saturation and brightness levels, but only when you're looking at it from extreme angles. If only its downward firing speakers were somewhat better, the video watching experience on the TUF F15 would have been terrific. Even when playing around with different equalizer presets in the Dolby Access app, I could not settle for an enjoyable audio quality. Apart from this, this 300Hz display has absolutely spoiled me with its smoothness. And its 3.1 ms response time means that you won't have to deal with coasting or any other such issue when you're playing some fast-paced games. Moving on, Asus has used the same keyboard here as last year. You're looking at a full-size chiclet keyboard with 1.7mm key travel and a dedicated numpad and everything. They have quiet and rather soft feedback, and the actual typing experience on this keyboard is actually not that bad. This is also a backlit keyboard with single zone RGB that's configurable via the Armory Crate app, but its actual backlighting is so inconsistent and all the keys are not properly lit either. I've faced a similar issue with past TUF laptops too, so seeing Asus continue to repeat the same mistake is a little disappointing. But thankfully, the trackpad has seen an upgrade this time. It's 26% larger and the separate left and right keys have been integrated into it as well. This is still a plastic-made trackpad, so the gliding motion is not as smooth as it could be, but it handles all your multi-finger gestures and other tasks just fine. Finally, about its battery life, the TUF F15 features a big 90 Wh 6L battery. But because it's feeding such power-hungry silicons, the battery life is not great here. I only managed to get around 2.5 hours of screen on time under my regular usage with silent mode and standard GPU profile turned on. However, you can almost double the battery endurance by switching to the eco mode. Okay, I think I've covered everything about this laptop, and for a $1,500 price tag or some 1.5 lakhs in India, this one is a clear winner. The performance jump compared to 11th gen processor is huge, whereas Asus has also gone the extra mile to include the highest TGP RTX 30 series GPU too. It also has a competent thermal system that can keep the temperatures in check and a good quality display. So if you're a gamer or even a content creator looking to buy a new powerful laptop at this price range, I feel confident recommending the TUF F15 to you guys. I tried, but I really cannot find any major deal-breaking flaw here. Obviously, I can nitpick about a few things like the underwhelming speakers, uneven keyboard backlighting, and a couple of other stuff. But let's get real here. All those things can easily be overlooked for such an awesome laptop overall. So guys, that was all for our full, very in-depth review of the Asus TUF Gaming F15 2022. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Till then, I'm Pratima and I will see you in my next video.